Ipswich are only the 5th team to ever do back-to-back promotions from League One straight to Premier League. They join an elite list of clubs in Watford, Man City, Norwich and Southampton. Those 4 all happened within 13 years of each other. 12 years later, Ipswich have done it. Now, odds are massively stacked against them. As always, when a new team comes up, everybody writes them off straight away. They got back from Vegas last week and people are saying that they're down already. Balls aren't even out for pre-season yet. Everybody thinks they'll go down, apart from this guy. I think they will stay up, all right? And this is why. McKenna is the biggest asset that they have. At one point, it didn't look like he was going to be Ipswich manager next season. Before he signed his new deal, there were Brighton, Chelsea and Man United all flirting with him a little bit. Chelsea then went and got Maresca instead from Leicester, which I think is a crazy decision. Like, if you're going to go for one of them two, why would you not go out for McKenna? Why would you not go all out for McKenna? He's miles better than Maresca is. But Ipswich didn't mess about with this. They acted fast. They got him a new contract. And it set tone, really, for how serious this board are going to take this Premier League season. They're not coming up to prepare to go down again, because they know that if they do go down, then McKenna will leave. Regardless of the fact that he will then have a relegation on his CV, he will get a Premier League job even if he goes down bottom. He signed a new 4-year deal on a reported £5 million a year, which is apparently the same wage as Ange at Tottenham or Sean Dyche at Everton. It's the joint 6th highest wage in Premier League for a team that has just come up. The owners at Ipswich are both very ambitious, but they've also got common sense, which normally a lot of teams don't have. Because let's just say that McKenna had left. Ipswich would have had to bring in a new manager and upset a dressing room and a squad that's just done back-to-back promotions with a different bloke. They would not have the same pull on players transfer-wise. Ultimately, Ipswich would have gone down before a ball even kicked if they'd have had any other manager apart from McKenna. It's £5 million. It's not end of the world. You get 100 million just for existing in Premier League. What's 5% of your Premier League money for your only chance at staying up next time? It's an absolute bargain. And I think it sets Ipswich fans up, really, for guaranteed joy. Because apart from, like, the obvious massive wage increase that they're going to have got, he would not sign a new deal at Ipswich unless he is guaranteed X amount of money or X players that are definitely going to come in. There's no way they've signed it unless he got assurances on them things. And I feel like a lot of people don't really understand why McKenna is rated so highly. If you're just looking at it from outside looking in, then you're seeing that he's finished 2nd in League One and then he's finished 2nd in Championship. Yeah, it's a big thing to have done back-to-back promotions. It's not even one league, do you know what I mean? That's probably what a lot of people are actually thinking. Ipswich in Championship last season, they finished 2nd behind Leicester, who have got the 2nd most valuable squad in Championship history. In fact, they finished in front of the 1st and 3rd most valuable squad that the Championship has ever seen. They finished in front of Southampton and Leeds. They scored 92 goals, which is an average of 2 goals a game, which is most in Championship. They conceded 7th least. They only lost 1 game at home all season. And most importantly of everything, they finished on 96 points and got promoted with a squad that were largely the same as what they got promoted from League One with. And obviously Ipswich did dominate majority of games, as you'd expect from a team that got promoted. But people are very quick to judge and assume that this Ipswich team is very similar to Burnley team that went up season before and then met the demise very quickly and went straight back down. But they are very, very different. Not every team that plays out front back and plays attractive stuff plays the same way. Burnley under Company, when they won league season before, they had the 2nd most passes in league, only behind Russell Martin at Swansea, who was just a complete weirdo. Whereas Ipswich this season had the 10th most passes completed. That is more than 4,000 less completed passes than Burnley, which on average is 88.521739 completed passes a game less than what Burnley were doing.
Quick maths.
Possession. Burnley like to keep a lot at ball. Burnley averaged 64% possession in Championship when they went up. Ipswich have got 7th most in Championship this season with an average of 53%. And even though both sides like to play football the right way, it's easy on eye, you know, it's nice to watch. They like playing out front back. Burnley wanted a lot more time on ball. They wanted a lot more patience. Whereas Ipswich want to get to net a lot faster. They're a lot more direct. And, you know, it don't take a genius to tell you that a newly promoted team from Championship going up to Premier League is not going to get the 64% possession on ball that they want, like Burnley did. In fact, looking at possession stats in Premier League this season, Burnley finished in 12th with 47%. They had to play a completely different style from what got them promoted, amongst many other problems at club, recruitment-wise, whereas Ipswich will not have to change their style of play. They can approach games its same way because they don't want ball that much. They don't want to make 1,000 passes a game. McKenna's football is suited a lot more to Premier League than what Company's were. And ultimately, with this Ipswich team, it's brilliant. It's very dynamic. They can change very easily. And the main thing I think is they've got a lot of very intelligent footballers in that squad. I'm sure you've seen that goal against Coventry. It's 8 passes from keeper to net. 8 passes in 30 seconds and a screamer at end of it. Their ability to make right decisions so often is brilliant. Plus, ultimately, the players that McKenna has turned them into has made them so good to watch and be so successful. And it also comes down to loyalty and a squad that knows what's expected of them. The core of this squad in Championship is the same players that were in League One and got promoted there as well. Out of the 16 most used players in the squad from League One season, 11 of them were still the most used in Championship. It's a very settled dressing room. They all know what's expected. They all know what Gaffer wants from them. They must look at McKenna like a god for what he has done for them. And strangely, one of the only potential negatives that I could look at for Ipswich is that the squad is too used to winning. They're too used to being good, which is daft, but it makes sense, right? They've gone straight from League One with 98 points and 4 losses to Championship where they had 96 points and 6 losses. They've lost 10 league games in 2 years. That's it. They've lost less games in league than Arsenal. They've only lost 2 more than Man City. Maybe they don't know how to lose, which is stupid. But they've been winning non-stop for 2 years. And when you do that, the step up from League One to Championship is obviously big. But the step up from Championship to Premier League is ridiculous. It is 100 times harder from the level that you've just played at. They've got to learn to suffer a little bit. Because there are going to be spells in this season where they go 4, 5, 6 games without winning. And they've got to come back from that. But with McKenna, I do think that they will get over tough periods really quickly. Especially with the squad that they've got at minute. Like, obviously this could change as window goes on. But there's not going to be anybody on a wage, for example, that's miles bigger than anybody else's. There's going to be no divide or split it changing room because of that. People aren't going to fall out with each other over money. The players that they're linked with and the players that they're signing aren't going to be ones coming in on massive wages either. And like I've said before, it's a very settled dressing room. It's like on Football Manager when all dynamics tabs are full green, like managerial support, team cohesion. It's all just the max it can be. Which moves me on to my next point, which is that I don't think they'll sell anybody. There's a very good, consistent level throughout that squad. There's nobody in there that I would say is miles better than anybody else. Leif Davis is probably the standout in terms of positionally how high they rank, because I think he should be back up left back to Shaw with England. So, but it's not like Dewsbury at Leicester, who's been sold already and he's gone to Chelsea, or Walker Peters at Southampton being heavily linked with moves away. At Ipswich, if you look, it is complete radio silence everywhere. There are no links about any of Ipswich's best players being linked with moves elsewhere. None. It's all incomings. And you know what it reminds me of, which might seem daft? All 3 that went up this time have all come back down, right? But Sheffield United sold Iliman Ndiaye and Sander Berge before a ball had even been kicked. They were the 2 best players. Burnley had effectively got a full new squad. Literally, the full 11 was almost changed. Luton went up with easily weakest team, personnel-wise, but they kept all the best players. All they did was add to it, quality-wise, to the squad, and they finished higher than other 2. Granted, they all went down, right? But the point still stands. I think it'll be the same again. Ipswich have gone up with the weakest squad, obviously, when you look at the value of the 2 squads that's gone up with them. But I think they're absolutely nailed on to finish above Leicester and Southampton. And if that is the case, all I need to do now is find one team in Premier League that's already there that Ipswich are better than. And off top of my head, I think there's potentially 3 of them. And I'm not taking piss here like I did with Burnley when I said they finished top half. The gap between Premier League and Championship, it's bigger than ever. It's uncomparable what it's like now. In the last 6 years at Prem, only 3 teams have gone up without parachute payments, right? And survived for longer than 2 years. And that is Nottingham Forest, who have been able to survive by spending the wealth of a small country, and they've been docked points for it. Leeds, who got relegated in the 3rd season instead of the 2nd one. And Brentford. A better way of saying this, right, is that without either parachute payments or breaking financial war crimes, only Brentford have stayed up in the last 5 years. That's it. It takes a small miracle to stay up in Premier League now because of the amount of money that is in this sport and that is in this country that isn't properly distributed from Prem all the way down. It's a joke. And even though these teams that I'm about to name have got much better squads at minute, I think Nottingham Forest, Brentford and Fulham have all got a serious chance at finishing below Ipswich. Forest this season, they've got 32 points, right? They've had 36 without the deduction. They're shit. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to say anything else. They are shit. Brentford finished on 39. They are going to lose Tony. They're potentially going to lose Mbuemo. That is the 2 best players. They've got a good manager in Thomas Frank, but I do think they're fading a bit. And finally, Fulham, they just get to January and turn to shit, don't they? Every time. Plus, they've lost the best player by an absolute mile in Paulinho to Bayern. I seriously think Ipswich have got a real chance of finishing above all of these teams, especially when you look at the signings and the players that they're heavily linked with and that probably will sign after I've made this video. Amari Hutchinson's already been bought. He were on loan at Ipswich last season, and all he did was get better as the season went on. From September to May, he went like that, constantly kept getting better. And you know what it was, I think? It was once McKenna got a grip of him. Once McKenna made him understand what he wants from him, getting the best out of him, He won at best players in league for that last couple of months in Championship. 15 goal contributions. He came up with some very important goals. And he does strike me as a big game player. Like, when pressure's on, he steps up to it. Especially, like, the Hull away. I can never stop getting that out of my head. Hull away, it was unbelievable. And they've bought him for 20 million quid, right? That is serious money for a team that's just gone up. But it's for a serious player, do you know what I mean? He's 20 years old. His value is only going to go up. He played there last season. He knows the club. He knows the manager. He knows the fans. He knows exactly what's expected. He's a fantastic signing. Another one that's in already is Ben Johnson, who's on a free from West Ham. He's got nearly 70 Prem appearances for West Ham over the last few years. That is a good signing as well. And at the time of me recording this, they've agreed a double deal with Hull for Jacob Greaves and Philogene for apparently 35 million quid. By the time you're watching this, it might be official. They might have announced it. But these signings are perfect. They're absolutely perfect. And I'm going to go back to it again for people comparing Ipswich to Burnley side that went up. Burnley spent £110 million and had 18 new players come in. This is chalk and cheese. This is so different. Burnley had a team that got promoted, scrapped it completely and tried building a completely new one in Premier League. Whereas Ipswich are adding a few pieces of serious quality from one of the best leagues in the world for talent in Championship and adding that to an already very good squad. And it's not same as Luton either, because people are throwing that one out there that they're just building a Championship super team for when they go down again. Luton went up and essentially bought a Championship super team, right, which is right for them. They got the majority of the players from this country, which again is a complete opposite to Burnley, but more similar to Ipswich, I guess you could say. But Luton went and bought good players, okay, top Championship players. Ipswich are buying the very best players. You know, there's levels to this game. Luton are buying here, Ipswich are buying up here. They are not messing about. Jacob Greaves, I've been saying for ages, I think he'll get England caps at some point, mate. Generally, I think he's unbelievable. He's the perfect modern centre-back. And Philogene as well, same at all. If this is his agent acting good or what, I do not know. But he's had a photo shoot in Barcelona's car park. I reported that he was trying to drive up interest and that Barcelona have got no interest in him at all. But you've got to rate it, haven't you? He's got 18 goal contributions in 32 games from wing. 18 in 32. He is nuts. And they're 23 and 22 years old. And Mari Hutchinson is 20. The business model is perfect. They're just buying the young elite Championship players that look the best fit to make the step up. They look ready. You know, I look at these signings and I would not be surprised if they were going to like Palace or Brighton. You know, two smaller teams in Premier League that haven't looked in danger of going down for years. And that, Kieran McKenna, and that's what Ipswich are going to be. This is both a squad with the potential for future, but also right now, which is the most important thing. These are ready to stay up right now. They're good enough. And when you go and look through the current 11 that they can put out, just by adding these few players in, they're going to obviously bring in more as transfer window goes on. They will need a new keeper, and they'll get one, you'd imagine. Johnson, I don't think he's going to come in as a backup. I think Johnson will start at right back. Greaves is going to start, obviously. And then you'd think Wolfenden will be likely starting next to him over Burgess. I'd think. Leif Davis obviously at left back. Morrison Luongo at middle. Chappers in 10. Hutchinson off left. Philogene will come off right. And most likely Hurst up front. And if you look at that team and what needs improving there, maybe a bit of striker for Hurst. Obviously a keeper. And that's it. And then what you got a bench off the top of my head. You've got Burgess, Twanzebe, Broadhead, Wes Burns, Humphreys. This is a proper squad. The link with Liam Delap as well. I think there were a photo of him actually in the car park or at ground 1 at 2. There's enough quality to stay up there, especially when you look at who the manager is. I've got another slight worry here, though. And one of my 2 slight worries is the severe lack of Premier League experience in this team. Like, Twanzebe has played odd game, but other than that, you've got Ben Johnson coming in from West Ham, who made majority of his appearances for West Ham off bench as a sub. There is no experience in there from this league, which is obviously a big thing. But they're going to be very solid at home. They were best side in Championship at home last season. It says the second on here because of Leeds in playoffs, but obviously their shit didn't go up anyway. So it is an horrible place to go, Ipswich. I know. I've been there on a Tuesday night to lose. When fans get going, it is bouncing. The stands are proper on top of you. They will be good at home. And like I said, I do worry about certain aspects, a lack of Premier League experience. They're not really used to losing this squad because they've done... Which can be turned into a good thing as well, winning mentality in it. But they've got to learn how to lose as well because they're going to be doing a lot of that in Premier League. But overall, I have got confidence in them that they can stay up. And I hope they do. But just don't forget who you are, Ipswich players, and where you came from. Like, if they do another vote that's going to change football for every team in this country, don't vote against things that will kill everybody else just because you're in Premier League. Alright? Please, don't forget your roots. But I've casted my vote. This is the only vote that actually matters. I think Ipswich will survive. But as always, let me know what you think. Make sure you sub, make sure you like the video, because apparently that's something that I do not know what the benefit of